there's passive investment is great, but you would need a lot of money to invest to get the kind of passive investment that is going to replace your income and lifestyle.
As an operator, I know other investors are romanticizing multifamily investing, and I'm looking to learn from other investors' mistakes. I know you are too, and you found the right place. Welcome to Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. Hey everybody, and welcome to Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. I'm your host, Jerome, and I've got the grand pleasure of having my man from Jersey, Jerry Sanchez, in the building with me today. Jerry, he saw the post. I don't know if it was in the Facebook group or some other place on social media. I said, look, let me give you 30 minutes where I can just give you straight whatever I can to help you get that multifamily kickstart. Jerry jumped on, signed up right away. He scheduled it out like a month from when he saw it, but he jumped in, signed up right away. So Jerry, grateful to have you here. And I just want to dive in, man, unless you got some other things you want to throw out there.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I appreciate you having me on. Actually, I listened to you a couple. I think was on the at the Multifamily Investor Nation, and you mentioned how you got to start to get yourself out there. So that was actually a great motivation for myself. I even though I like marketing and social media, I've never been one that's on social media a lot. So I actually recently just got myself on Facebook, and so if I just started clicking buttons and joining myself and not knowing what I got into, let me know.
That's phenomenal. So, but you say that, man, but you got this phenomenal meetup that's happening on Thursday nights. Tell the listeners a little bit about that. So, I mean, they know that you got some stuff going already, and then we can jump into whatever questions you have for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. For me, part of it, it was, I here I am in New Jersey, multifamily investor, looking to network and meet and find, operators to invest with. That's how my journey started out about a year and a half ago. Did an LP investment in New Jersey with a great operator, very transparent. I learned a lot, and started to talk my what I was doing to others in my group, friends and family, and kind of said, hey, we can get into doing, investing in multifamily, buying a building. Oh, how do you do that? And kind of went through the journey of learning how to do. And once I did, we started looking at markets, and the Carolinas just checked all the boxes, and places like Raleigh and Durham, and where jobs and people are moving. And essentially I started to say, let me, how do I meet people? And we're in this world of virtualness after the pandemic, and kind of took advantage of the fact that Zooms and meetups and giving us the opportunity to connect with people that we weren't close or physically. So I got the idea of putting together the Carolina Multifamily Connection and Meetup, where the idea is out-of-state investors getting together and networking with Carolina-based network investors and operators.
Man, that's exciting. And I think it's unique. Most people have no real aim or goal when they get into something like this. So this is outstanding, man. So, I mean, tell me more or ask some questions, man. How can we serve you best today?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I have as as I start the journey and start the multifamily business and moving it along is, obviously networking and finding boots in the ground partners is an important aspect of it. I think for many of those that are the ultimate goal is to get out of the W-2 and, eventually become an operator. It's challenging to find the time and systems in place. So, I'm looking, for always to network with others who have a roadmap and ways to do something that I can do that, let's get further faster, that idea. And it's very disciplined as far as making sure that you start to, for instance, my when my kids played soccer when they were little, the trainers used to say, oh, you got to get your touches in, touch that ball, right? So for us, it's the same thing. Make sure you're reaching out to brokers, make sure you're reaching out, consistently to potential partners. So that's one of the challenges, and I think making sure that we keep doing that and hold each other accountable is something that I'm always working on.
Yeah. So from a partnership standpoint, you're trying to build relationships with people who you've probably never had physical contact with. I think that can be pretty difficult because the relationships, especially with men, are typically built through work, right? Being side by side, being in the same proximity, and seeing things happen. And you work in a pretty intense environment in your day job, and so you know trying to build these relationships from what I would consider a matrix organization where it's pretty easy to put on right now, right? You can just put on a jacket and a collared shirt and present to the world that you're super professional and buttoned up and you got gym shorts on underneath or your pajamas. And
Uh-oh.
so the hurdle of figuring out who's real and who's not is pretty important. What I think is going to be extremely beneficial for you on your journey is just really digging into the person's track record and background and experience. The investing space is pretty small. When you're dealing with somebody who hasn't done much, it's going to be pretty difficult to find anything about them. But for the people who I think who have done a few deals or done a deal, people are going to have an opinion about them, and you'll be able to get a really well, you'll get a good read once you spend enough time in the world. Basically, you will know at least two people who knows the person that you're talking to, if they're actually somebody who's boots on the ground. And when I think boots on the ground, I think of them as an operator, not just as a bird dog, or that's code word for somebody that just goes out and finds deals for you or goes and takes pictures at a property that you're interested in looking at. One of the books that I read that was transformational for me in 2020 was Sizing People Up by Robin Dreeke. And
Mhm.
that allows you to see if that person is really looking to build with you. The book is about trust. The lesson that I had to learn was that liking somebody doesn't mean that you should trust them. There's a lot of people that you like, but that doesn't mean that you should trust them. And that right there is a pretty hard pill to swallow, because you want to think, why would I like somebody that I can't trust? And what the truth of the matter is, there's 6 behaviors that indicate whether or not you can predict what the person's going to do. And if you can predict what the person's going to do, then you can trust them because you've got some insight into what the outcome's going to be. Does that make sense?
It does. I think it's a great point because you bring up about work and huddling up, and there's you go to work and you may have a relationship with someone, and but you never know until there's some really moment of distress, and how someone reacts and acts. And that's a great point. So I know. Interesting enough, you may trust people that you don't like either, right?
You can absolutely trust people that you don't like. Trust is all about being able to predict what they're going to do, right? And if you can predict what they're going to do, then you can protect yourself. It's the people who you have no idea what they're going to do that are the real risk, because they're a wild card. Just like I was talking to somebody who plays poker, and he said, "Look, man, I'm not gambling when I play poker. I know the potential outcomes that are there. And based on the cards that are played, I have the same amount of information as everybody else. And so I can make my wager based on the risk associated with it and the likelihood of, or the probability of my success." And that's the exact same concept here, right? If you know what's going to happen. And the great thing about real estate is this insider trading is okay. Inside traders are okay. The more information you have, the more advantaged you are. And that in and of itself is really valuable. So
So another challenge, I obviously being able to know, like, trust, is you're building a team from afar, is trying to find that team that complements your strengths and weaknesses. If you are, if time is a weakness, or you may be someone maybe a good underwriter, but not, a good, speaker or marketer, So I think that's something that's a challenge when you meet potential partners to almost be able to save time and say, well, I'm not looking for this, or, I'm looking for that. Like, how do you manage that process, while still maintaining a relationship, but, being stern enough to say, well, maybe, we can't necessarily work together, but, we could still share and learn from each other.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to cover that one is to be very open about what you are looking for. Right? Here's what I'm looking for in a partner, and let the people self-select out of that, right? And one of the things that I get grief about from time to time is I I'm very open about profit isn't my motivation first, right? I want to make an impact and I want my investments to make an impact. And so if the person who's trying to maximize their money to their pocket does not want to partner with me, and that's okay, right? I want the flexibility to be able to make whatever decisions that make the most sense for the property long range, because for me this is a career, right? I'm going to do this longer than I was in corporate, mainly because I like the ability to maneuver, manipulate, and deliver an outstanding result for not only me but for the residents who are investing in us by paying the mortgage each month, you know and I'm okay with that from a standpoint of, I know that it's my goal to be the deal lead or the asset manager on the majority of projects I do. So if somebody wants to be in that seat, we're going to probably have some challenges just because that's what I've done for every deal. I don't do deals where I don't sign the loan. I expect to sign the loan. And so if you just want me just kind of off in the periphery, that's not my game. And I'm not apologetic about it because I have clarity, and I've told people from the beginning. Now, does that make it a little more difficult? Are there more potential opportunities out there that could have happened because I kind of X'd them out and decided that they weren't going to work? Sure. But the efficiency standpoint allows me to get to the place and to the people that I am most interested in, and I think will be most interested in me because we have a high likelihood of success. And I think the last piece of that will be, the more that you can share who you are in places other than one-on-one conversations allows people to either come closer to you or get further away. And it prevents the need for you to have some of those uncomfortable conversations.
That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned not just investing for profits, and I think many of us are looking, especially like value adds, and you're looking into your first properties, and um, you know, how do you balance that when you're looking at certain deals, and the business plan, may involve raising rents or evicting, in order to do that. How do you balance that part with, making sure that you're bettering, an area, a neighborhood by providing a quality product?
A lot of people want to be profitable multifamily operators but lack the knowledge, deal flow experience, and capital to be successful. They often try to overcome these challenges out of order, slowing or eliminating their ability to get their next deal done. We've developed a framework that allows them to gain the knowledge they need to find profitable deals. When they do, they create the time and location freedom, as well as the generational wealth they desire for their family. The Myers methods of multifamily investing have proved to be the fastest way to establish credibility and profitably grow an apartment portfolio. If you want to know more about our 4-step process, jump over to myersmethods.com to get our free 4-step guide to getting into multifamily investing. Let's get back to the episode.
So just because I say I'm not looking to make a profit first doesn't mean that I don't expect to make money, right? You got to make
Of
money in
course.
order to be in business. It's not a not for profit, and even not for profits have to work at least zero. They can't be negative, right? So my thought on the balance question is I don't think that you will be in balance. I think there will be times where you're out of balance. You're probably what Pankaj calls loving on the property more than the property's loving on you. But that investment is made so that on the back end, you have less headache, you have less struggle, you have less challenge, and there's true value in that, right? Because you can sit back and we don't have to worry about that when we fix the issues. And so when you add the next deal in, you can focus on that deal because this one's performing as you would expect it to. And then you get through that one and you just kind of move to the next one. I think where you get in trouble is when all of your deals are in the same phase at the same time because they all need so much attention. It's kind of like having triplets or quadruplets. Like there's only two parents, so how do you manage all of those people? I was talking to Esty. I think she has like 8 kids,
Oh, wow.
and so it's just like, what in the world do you do with that? Because you're working, your husband's working. It's just like, what in the world? So with that said, it's one, you want to make sure that you're still profitable. Two, the partnership makes the decision on who, um, how much and where, right? How much and where. Three, if you don't take care of the property, know that the property is not going to take care of you in the end. Like it's going to come back to bite you. It's a matter of doing things on your terms or being forced to do it. It's kind of like buying a new car, right? If somebody waits until the car breaks, they might not be able to shop for the best deal. If you're proactively taking care of things that you know are going to become issues, then you can shop and maybe get people to do it in off season because they're hungry for work. They may do it for a discount, but you have more control over the situation than if it was an emergency and it's got to be done right now.
Excellent. So you mentioned about the different stages, having properties in different stages. And also I find that, networking and different operators or different investors that I meet are in different stages of their career, which is great about this industry. I work closely with a networking group here in New Jersey, and I think just the small group that we have, we push each other, we make each other accountable. But as far as supercharging now, moving forward into the multifamily business, and particularly now that I'm down, looking to invest in the county, you know, I want to find and network with others that are physically down in that area that are also looking to invest, and maybe someone that's already in a 12 unit and now is looking to go to a 50 unit or a 50 unit and go to a 100, right? So uh, what you're feeling, obviously have recommendations in terms of getting out there and joining masterminds or groups that would connect you with a diverse group of people in that sense.
Say the last part again because you twisted it on me.
Yeah, looking, the importance of finding a mastermind or a group where the members are not just all new, but members are at different stages of their journey, like whether it's stepping up from a 20 to a 50 or 50 to 100.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of people do a bunch some prizing. I had one person I saw a post on LinkedIn and they were talking about, hey, you've got to have $100 million in assets under management in order to be a part of this mastermind. And what I can say is if you're only going to talk about your properties in the mastermind, it's going to get boring pretty quick, right? My goal is always to have multiple points because the properties part is nice, but the relationships are what matter, right? And me knowing that Jerry owns a 20 unit down the street from me doesn't really do anything. Me knowing about Jerry and his family or the family he wants and, you know, how he grew up and that he likes Rutgers and boom, boom, boom. Those are the things that actually build a relationship that allow us potentially to do deals together. And if not do deals together, then have somebody that I can call and talk to as a resource for whatever problem I'm going through. The issue with everybody being new is very what I think most people will suspect. It's the blind leading the blind. And so I agree that you don't want to be in a spot where everybody's new. I do think diversity within the group is important, but I don't know that deal size makes all that difference. I think what's probably more important is the structure of the deal, right? If you're doing joint ventures only, and I've made this mistake where I've just been doing joint ventures only, and I've been in masterminds that only talk about syndication.
Right.
Well, there's but so much there. And I did it because I was interested in hearing what the syndication folks were talking about from a structure standpoint, but it wasn't going to help me structure my deal any better. And I don't know that it was going to help me operate my deal any better. I do think, when you get in the class of property or the business plan that you want to operate or execute is really important as well. So if you're a value add person and you're talking to people who buy stuff from developers that are brand new and just in lease up phase,
Yeah.
your two problems will only cross where it's leasing up, right? If somebody buys something from a developer, it's not fully leased up, and you're willing to do a value add property where you tuck the occupancy to zero to bring it back online, those problems will intersect. But outside of that, what it's going to take to please somebody that is A plus plus with super amenities, and what it's going to take somebody who's in workforce housing who just wants a safe, clean place to come home to are very different standards. And so I've seen people who buy A class property go to C's and like, oh my gosh, this thing is disgusting. I can't believe anybody would live here. And I've seen people who run C properties like, why in the world would you spend any money on an Amazon locker? Right? It's just all of these
Depends. Yeah.
just totally different views of the world. Um, can you take something or learn something? Potentially, but I just don't think that you have the same issues that you're working through. And, the grass always looks greener for somebody else's business plan.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, for me, definitely, I'm looking, the value add, the joint ventures, those that are looking for those type, obviously I'm focusing on Carolina, but the Southeast is there. Um, that kind of mentorship slash, mastermind. And I think we started as out just talking about the know, like, and trust. And, the more that you again get these touches in these meetings, you will get to learn and know each other better. And you will forge relationships that you want to partner up with.
Absolutely. And uh, if you can do the deal without partnering, do the deal without partnering, right? And people usually get into the space and like, I need partners, I need partners. It's a whole lot cheaper to pay somebody to do the thing that you don't know how to do than it is to give up equity in the deal. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Like especially if you're trying to build for legacy, right? Because every piece of the asset that you give away is a piece that you can't control or take for your own.
That's a great point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, it's really important. I think it's really important to partner when you syndicate because I think you're setting up two businesses at the same time. One is an operations business where you got to go find deals, you got to go through due diligence, and then you actually have to operate it. For the second leg of that is you got to set up a money raising business, right? There is no if and or buts about it. If you don't set up the money raising business, then you won't be able to fund the deals that you find whenever you find them. And I've seen people do that with two or three people, with one person focusing on the money, another person focusing on new acquisitions and going through due diligence, and then potentially a third person on operating the properties once they're done,
that's amazing. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Silo, silo, silo. But if you are doing the deals by yourself or you're doing them in joint ventures, then all of that stuff is you don't have to worry about setting up the capital raising business. And so now it's all about finding new deals and operating them. And one or two people can do that. You don't need a ton of people to do it unless you're trying to create an ecosystem where people can meet and meet other people who are interested in doing more deals, right? Because I do think there is a place where, maybe somebody doesn't have the net worth and liquidity, and maybe the other person not have the time. And so those two people getting together makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Or one person may not be great at underwriting, and the other person, I don't know, can do whatever, market, or I don't know what it is, right? But they can have those complementary skill sets. And so they can get together. But stacking a ton of people or thinking that you need people as partners, I think is something that is a struggle a lot of the time. Now, it may change the size deal you buy, but remember, you'll own more of the deal. right? One of my issues with the industry, and it's marketing, I get it, is, I've got 80,000 doors and I've got a bazillion dollars under management. You're not a hedge fund manager. While some people like it, but I mean, it really starts to it starts to sound like hedge funds instead of real estate investors. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's really impressive for somebody who doesn't really understand. When you start peeling back a layer, the question that I always come to is, well, how much of that is impacting your net worth? Because if you own 1% of 100 doors, then you own one property. You know what I mean? And so let's stack it up and make sure that we get to a place where we don't forget what the goal is. The goal isn't assets under management. The goal isn't doors. The goal is income that comes to you or increase in net worth by the equity that you hold in the property.
That's fantastic. That's a great point. That's a good point. I guess, yeah, if you own 3% of, 100 doors, and you're probably, and you have less control of that than if you were running the deal yourself and also, learning and affecting the outcome. Yeah.
So as a passive investor, it's phenomenal. But, if you you want to be an operator, and the only way to get out is to be an operator from my perspective. Now, you can transition to passive, but I really believe that you need to be a business owner in order to be successful at getting out quickly. If you just do the math, right? Getting 8% on your money isn't going to retire anybody earlier than it would if it was in the stock market or some other alternative. You got to get some really big hits. And those hits come from being an active operator. And, you just have to be good with that. You have to be comfortable with running down that road.
Yeah, those are all great points. And there's passive investment is great, but you would need a lot of money to invest to get the kind of passive investment that is going to replace your income and lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, 8% on $1 million is 80 grand a year, just to put things in perspective. But people don't do that math. And also, if you're not an active investor, the depreciation, I'm not a CPA, right? But in concept, the depreciation, if you're not an active investor, doesn't go against your active income. So are you really getting the tax benefit that is associated with real estate if you're not an active investor?
That's right. No, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's good stuff.
Yeah, man. Is there any more questions I can answer for you?
No, that's, essentially that's what, looking to kind of, move into that space of taking that next step of a network, or, a mastermind, like you mentioned, that kind of aligns. I like the idea of learning more about the JV side of it and working with other local partners in the Carolinas. So yeah, looking forward to the seminar next week, and it's going to be awesome.
Man, conference is going to be amazing. This is going to drop afterwards, but I'm telling you, this is going to be exciting, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be so exciting. If you weren't there, you missed it. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, Jerry, thank you so much for jumping on with me and asking these amazing questions. These are some that I don't really hear that often, so I can tell you're digging deep. Super excited about your future. I know you're going to be extremely successful. And to the listeners, the pack is with you. We'll talk soon.
A favor, give us a 5-star rating, give us a review, and share this with somebody who's interested in multifamily investing. Until the next time, the pack is with you.